Good afternoon, everybody. Uh, Today we will be discussing the use of prophylactic antibiotics in surgery. So, yeah. Now, what is the problem? Why do we have to use prophylactic antibiotics? So, surgical site infections, that is SSIs, is one of the commonest causes of nosocomial infections. It forms about 40% of nosocomial infections in a surgical patient. So obviously there's a big problem, isn't it? And what happens if you have a surgical site infection? There is a threefold increase in the cost of care. The readmission rate is increased by about 60. There's a 60% chance of readmission for the patient, and there is a poor quality of life because of the surgical site infection. And it is said that the death rate is twice as much in a person or a patient who has surgical site infection compared to a person who does not, a patient who does not have surgical site infection after the surgery. So this is statistics obtained from the United States. We have 5 lakh infections annually, surgical site infections, 5 lakhs per year. And because of this surgical site infection, there is 4 million excess hospital days that are spent by the patient. And the expenditure works out to over $2 billion. So obviously, besides the individual problems for the individual patient, if you look at the socioeconomic cost of the thing, not only financial, economic cost alone, but mental and all sort of other things, very high. That is why we would like to avoid surgical site infections. And one of the ways in which you can prevent surgical site infections is by giving prophylactic antibiotics. That is why we do that. Now, what is a surgical site infection? Definition. A surgical site infection is defined as an infection that occurs at or near a surgical incision within 30 days of the procedure, or within 1 year if an implant has been used. I hope this is so you did surgery for a thyroid, multinodular goiter, total thyroidectomy. You discharge the patient. The patient comes back after 2 weeks with stitch abscess in that area, or cellulitis in that area, incision site. That is called a surgical site infection. Or you do the surgery for hip replacement, say, for example. And the patient comes back 6 months later with an infection in that area. Again, that is a surgical site infection. Now, before we go into the use of antibiotics, prophylactic antibiotics, one thing that you must understand is the classes of surgical wounds. I think we have covered this topic somewhere else. Anyway, basically, this category, this classification tells you the chances of a surgical site getting infected. When you have an elective surgery, you divide them into these 4 classes, and it tells you that there is a chance of the chances of the infection in the wound in each of these classes. So class 1 is clean wound. That is, for example, the thyroid surgery. Thyroid surgery, the chances of getting infection or the organisms that can produce infection are the organisms from the skin usually. These are the only organisms that are present. Besides getting it from the surgeons or the staff doing the surgery, as far as the patient is concerned, the infection can come only from the skin, because that is the only structure that contains organisms when you do thyroid surgery. And the chance of infection in these cases is 2%. Then you have clean contaminated wounds. Clean contaminated wound is when you, besides the skin, you go through either the respiratory tract, that is a trachea or something like that, go to the GI tract, or go to the urinary tract, or you go through the biliary tract. All these can contain organisms. GI tract, as we all know, always contains organisms, isn't it? So when you do surgery, for example, in an appendicectomy, an acute appendicitis, when you do surgery, besides the skin, organisms in the skin, you are cutting the appendix. So you are entering into the GI tract, and the GI tract there contains a lot of other organisms. So there's a chance of getting infections. This is what is called a clean contaminated wound. I know it sounds a little paradoxical, but that's how it is. Similarly, if you have a cholecystitis and you do a cholecystectomy, again here you are opening into the biliary tract. Again, this could be containing organisms, so it's classified under clean contaminated wounds. Then you have contaminated wounds. Contaminated wounds is, for example, you're doing geriatric surgery. For example, you're doing a resection, carcinoma of the colon. You're doing a resection. While doing the resection, what happened? There is a spillage of the large bowel contents into the peritoneal cavity. Now, this can produce infection. This is an example of a contaminated wound. Another example would be penetrating injury. Supposing a stab injury to the abdomen. Again, you are doing surgery for that. This is a within the first 24 hours. If you are doing surgery within the first 24 hours, this is a contaminated wound, because besides the organisms in the skin, you are introducing organisms that the instrument or the knife or whatever you are using to stab is introducing organisms from outside. The patient is not stabbed in the OT, isn't it, where everything is aseptic and all that. It will be somewhere in the street or somewhere else where you can get so many other organisms. You understand? In the OT, when you are doing surgery, though you are using a knife, it is a sterile knife, and the atmosphere around it is also sterile, so, or at least as sterile as possible. So unlikely to get infection. I hope you understand what I am trying to say. Yeah. So that is a contaminated wound. Then you have dirty wounds. Dirty wounds are wounds where there is already an established infection. The best example probably would be a appendicular abscess. Acute appendicitis is clean contaminated, but once an appendicular abscess forms, you have organisms within that abscess, isn't it? So it is an established infection. So it's contaminated. That's how you classify wounds. Classify surgical wounds. Now you use prophylactic antibiotics in this second, in this clean contaminated wound. Clean contaminated wound. That is the situation where you use prophylactic antibiotics. Contaminated wounds, obviously, you want to prevent it, you will use antibiotic. A dirty wound, obviously, because there is already an abscess, you will start antibiotic. There is no need to. In a clean wound, there is no need for a prophylactic antibiotic. This example I told you, thyroid surgery or a hernia surgery, hydrocele surgery, all these are clean wounds in the sense that the only organisms found here are in the skin. You are not entering any other cavity or which contains organisms. You understand? Clean wound. So these wounds for surgery in these sites, you do not require prophylactic antibiotics. There are exceptions to this. For example, if you are using a prosthesis, for example, we already talked about a hip replacement, isn't it? Where you are using a prosthesis. In that case, you will use an antibiotic. The reason is prophylactic antibiotic. The reason is you don't want an infection to start there, because if an infection sets in there, you will have to redo the whole procedure. Lots of other problems, because there is a foreign body in that area, prosthesis, foreign body, which will not allow the infection to settle. Once infection gets in, if there is a foreign body present, the infection will never settle. The same thing holds good for a Lichtenstein's repair or a mesh repair of a hernia. Again, there you are using a prosthesis or mesh, which is a foreign body. So if you get an infection in that region, again, it will not settle until that foreign body is removed. So we will have to redo the surgery, all sorts of problems. So in these situations, you will use a prophylactic antibiotic. 3 and 4, anyway you have to use antibiotics. So there is no question of prophylaxis. You are using therapeutic antibiotics. All right. Yeah. Now, what are the factors which you have to consider to prevent a surgical site infection? Obviously, the patient should be in good nutrition status, neither undernourished nor obese. Malnourished. When you remove hair, it should be done properly. That is, you should not shave it. You should use either clippers or depilate the hair, and there is no need to remove hair in the whole abdomen. Only the area where you are going to put an incision, you have to remove the hair. So appropriate hair removal. Skin should be prepared adequately. That is why we clean the skin with either betadine or providonidine or chlorhexidine or something like that, a combination of the two. The idea is you are trying to remove all the organisms from the abdomen where you are putting the incision. There should be no break in the aseptic technique. That is, while doing surgery, asepsis should be clean. Our surgeon and the assistants and everybody should be follow all the aseptic techniques. You understand? Yeah. And finally, the last resort is using prophylactic antibiotics. Now, we do not want to misuse antibiotics, by which I mean we do not want to use antibiotics indiscriminately and produce resistant strains. That is why we limit the use of antibiotics. So prophylactic antibiotics, you give it only for a very limited period and in a very selected group of patients. Yeah. So what is the goal of using prophylactic? The goal is to ensure that there is an effective serum level of the antibiotic during the surgery, tissue levels of the serum and tissue levels of the antibiotic, so that an infection does not get or the organism does not get a chance to colonize. Only if it can colonize, it can multiply in this. So if there is enough blood level or serum level and tissue level of antibiotic, the organism is killed, isn't it? It cannot colonize. That is the whole idea in giving prophylactic antibiotics. So the factors that you have to consider while giving a prophylactic antibiotic is duration of surgery. So the longer the duration of the surgery, you might have to repeat the dose of the antibiotic, and then the half-life of the drug. So whether it is said usually just in a clean contaminated wound, there is need to give only just one dose of antibiotic. But depending upon the duration and the half-life of the drug, you might have to repeat it. I'll come to that later. So when will you use a prophylactic antibiotic? I already told you this. In class 2 wounds, that is clean contaminated wounds, and in some class 1 wounds. And I told you where. This when you use a prosthesis or a mesh or something, a foreign body is used, then you will give an antibiotic, prophylactic antibiotic, even in a clean wound. You understand? Because we don't want the infection to set in and cause all sorts of problems there. Then the question arises, when will you give the prophylactic antibiotic? The ideal time is 1 hour before the incision is put. So easy way of remembering this is just before the induction of anesthesia or during the induction of anesthesia. So then after the anesthesia you have to clean and drape, and then you have a time out and all sorts of things. So you have enough time probably. The idea is you have, before you put the incision, the serum and the tissue levels of the antibiotic should be adequate. You understand? That is why you have to wait for. So it is best given 1 hour before the incision is put. In the case of certain antibiotics, like for example vancomycin and fluoroquinolones, like ciprofloxacin or things like that, which is given as a infusion. It's not a start push. Ampicillin, you load it in a syringe and start push. Whereas these are given as infusions. So this must be given at least 2 hours before the incision is put. The whole thing has to run into the body, isn't it? So it takes a little time for that. So you give it. So in case of vancomycin, fluoroquinolones, like ciprofloxacin and all that, imidazole and all that, ciprofloxacin and other drugs like that, you have to give it 2 hours before the incision is put. How long will you continue to give the antibiotics? Normally when we have an infection that is certain, at least about 5 days we give it, isn't it? But a prophylactic antibiotics, a single dose is enough. I told you it's given 1 hour before the surgery. But there are certain indications to give a redose it. Like if the surgery has gone on for more than 4 hours, the half-life of the antibiotic most of the antibiotic would have got over by then. So you have to redose it. So the prolonged surgery, more than 4 hours, you'll have to redose it. Or if there is a massive blood loss, more than 1500 ml of blood loss, again, then the serum concentration of the antibiotic would have come down, isn't it? All the blood which contains the antibiotic is gone. So you have to give it again. So there again. So 2 probably indications for redosing would be 1, surgery is more than 4 hours duration, or if there is massive blood loss, more than 1500 ml of blood loss. Here you redose it. When will you redose it? It depends upon the half-life of this thing. So 1 to 2, twice the half-life. After that you will redose it. Understand? So which antibiotic to use? This is dependent upon the local antibiogram. What do I mean by local antibiogram? What I mean is local organisms that are present. So each institution, each country, each region might have different organisms that are common. But for example, skin, throughout the world probably you have a certain common organism. Staphylococcus is the most common. Then you can have streptococci. So these are the skin. And similarly GI tract, almost anywhere in the world you go. But depending upon your infection rate and the type and this thing, you will make an antibiogram for your institution. You understand? So you will see when you do culture and sensitivity for skin surgical site infections, you will find this is one of the common organisms that are seen. Then you will find out which antibiotic is effective against it. So you will use that antibiotic for that particular situation. I hope you understand this. But as a universal rule, there are certain guidelines that we follow, but this can be altered depending upon the organism and the antibiotic that you require to control that organism in particular locations. That's what I mean by an antibiogram, and the antibiotic is chosen depending on. So the commonest antibiotic that is used worldwide is cephalosporins, out of which cefazolin is probably the commonest antibiotic that is used for prophylaxis. Yeah, this is a chart showing you the types of surgery, the organisms that are commonly encountered, and the antibiotics that are commonly used. For example, we will take gastrointestinal surgery, the second one. Yeah, enteric gram-negative organisms, bacteria, anaerobes, enterococci. These are the organisms that are encountered in the bowel, GI tract, isn't it? So the antibiotic that you would probably choose is cefotaxime, or an ampicillin sulbactam combination, or a cefazolin plus metronidazole. Metronidazole to cover the anaerobes. So this is what we will give as a prophylaxis. Or if you take, say, orthopedic surgery. Orthopedic surgery, usually there is in a clean wound, fracture, for example, hip fracture, and you are going to do a hip replacement. The only organism probably that you will encounter is the organisms in the skin, and I told you Staphylococcus aureus is usually the commonest organism found in the skin. So the antibiotic that you use against that is cefazolin. You understand? Now if it is a coagulase negative and methicillin resistant, MRSA, then probably you would use a vancomycin. You understand? So that is how you select the antibiotic. Like that for cardiothoracic surgery, vascular surgery and all that. So this is just to give you an idea about how the antibiotics are selected. I told you the commonest one is cephalosporins, that is cefazolin. It is the commonest antibiotic that is used as prophylaxis. This covers the organisms in the skin, that is Staphylococcus aureus. So that is probably the commonest that is used. Yeah, like I was telling you, antibiotic is given 1 hour before the incision is put, and it is repeated depending upon the duration of the surgery and the blood loss. If the duration is more than 4 hours, you will have to repeat the antibiotic. When you will repeat it will depend upon the half-life of antibiotic. If the half-life gets over in 1 hour, probably you can repeat it after 1 hour, if it is going to take long. So depending upon that. How long will you give it? I told you to stop within 24 hours. You do not give a prophylactic antibiotic for more than 24 hours. When you are giving therapeutic antibiotics, I told you continue up to 5 days, 7 days, and all that varies depending upon at least usually minimum of 5 days. But here it is given only as a prophylaxis. You don't have an established infection. It's only a prophylaxis. So you must not give it for more than 24 hours. Usually a single dose is enough. That first dose that you gave before the surgery, that is enough. Sometimes you can give, I told you the indications. Prolonged surgery, excessive blood loss, you might have to repeat it. Anyway, whatever it is, not more than 24 hours. The only exceptions for this are in case of cardiothoracic surgery. Cardiothoracic surgery probably you will give it for 24 hours, especially valve replacements of the heart and all that. You don't want any problems, so you give it for 48 hours, up to 48 hours, 2 days. Oh, sorry, I missed out a few slides in the, yeah, that's it. So basically that is how it is. Yeah. So, and prophylactic antibiotics are used in class 2, that is contaminated wounds, and a few select class 1, clean wounds. That is where you are using a prosthesis. In a clean wound, where you are using a prosthesis. The antibiotics chosen are chosen depending upon the organisms that you are likely to encounter. The commonest antibiotic used are cephalosporin, that is cefazolin. The antibiotic is usually given 1 hour before the incision is put, except in the case of vancomycin and fluoroquinolones, where they are given 2 hours before the incision is put. The prophylactic antibiotic is not continued for more than 24 hours. That is, including the surgery, the time within you should stop it within 24 hours. Exception is cardiothoracic surgery, cardiac surgery, where you are using valve replacement and all that. You can give it for 48 hours. A repeat dose is necessary only in 2 situations. If the surgery is taking more than 4 hours, or if there is a massive blood loss of more than 1500 ml. Yeah. So, and the whole idea in giving prophylactic antibiotics is to prevent surgical site infections, because surgical site infections constitute more than 40% of nosocomial infections and are responsible for a lot of morbidity, even mortality, and a lot of economic and logistical problems. So basically, yeah, so this is in a nutshell. Thank you.